In our friend Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill. Niall, it's not going to be a big surprise that more voters turn out to the polls because of this decision, but the numbers of Republican voters who are by and large pro-life, as are the majority of justices in this ruling, they believe adamantly that the unborn child has rights, go squarely against the singular focus of a lot of Democrats whose pro-choice platform focuses more on the rights of women. So who's thinking that there are going to be more voters who would turn out and actually vote for Democrats now that this ruling has passed?
Well, that thinking, Adrienne, is based on opinion polling that shows that Roe versus Wade was actually fairly popular. It gets about 60% support in most opinion polls, got that amount in a CBS News poll just over the weekend. So in the terms of the general population, there was support for Roe. Now, whether that translates into increased support for Democrats is a more complicated matter, which we can certainly get into. But to answer your question, that's where the thesis that Democrats might gain comes from.
Yeah, the theory that it will help Democrats galvanize more voters, especially at a time when they could use it. Low approval ratings, a lot of infighting over some big administration focuses and goals. The threat of the red wave. There's been this focus on suburban women, a traditional swing vote bloc. But that's not necessarily a sure bet that suburban women could somehow be a tipping point here.
No, it's not, and that's what I mean when there are complications to this idea that the ruling will necessarily galvanize Democratic voters, suburban women or otherwise. For a start, there are typically more so-called single-issue voters on the anti-abortion or pro-life, if you prefer that label, side of this than on the pro-choice, pro-abortion rights side. The other point I think that's important to make, Adrienne, just in terms of politics, is it seems plausible that even people who are very pro-choice in their personal politics could look and say, well, Democrats have the White House, have the Senate, have the House of Representatives, and still weren't able to prevent this from happening. So why would I vote for them in November? That's why we're seeing some Democrats call for a more specific plan from their own leadership.
Yeah, and you know, obviously there are a lot of people who are passionate about this. Justice Alito made sure to emphasize that this opinion concerns the constitutional right to an abortion and no other law. But there are some saying that this could particularly affect LGBTQ individuals. And a lot of folks are trying to say that this ruling for Roe v. Wade is actually going to set precedents for other laws. Really referencing what Clarence Thomas mentioned. But would there be other laws in jeopardy? Do we have any data on that?
There would be laws in jeopardy if what Clarence Thomas said carried the day. But there's no guarantee that that will be the case. Justice Thomas's view appears to be that other cases that established not only LGBTQ rights, but things like the right to contraception are also based upon a flawed premise. And he actually used the phrase correct the error in relation to those rulings. So if that rationale were to be adopted by the court, those rights could be placed in danger. The question is whether that will happen or not. Even within the Conservative bloc, Justice Thomas is considered one of the most conservative justices.
All right, Niall, we're going to talk to you in just a little bit. In fact, in our final hour of Morning in America, our third hour, 9 Eastern time, I know we're going to be speaking to you again about the growing political fallout due to this latest decision on Roe v. Wade. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Adrienne.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.